So in my last video, I talked about EOMM. Now that Marvel Rivals has said they're going to be releasing a video talking about how their matchmaking system works. And from the comments, it seems like there were a lot of people that were very confused about what it is that I believe in regards to EOMM, my thoughts and opinions on it. So I thought that maybe it'd be best if we go revisit it and break it down a little bit further for people that seem to be a bit confused. So let's talk about it. YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark, and I'm up bright and early, crack of dawn. Hope everybody's been having a good week so far. If not, I apologize. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope it gets better for you. But like I said in the intro, a couple days ago, I did a video addressing my thoughts on EOMM, kind of revisiting that since Marvel Rivals is going to be doing or releasing a video here pretty soon talking about how their matchmaking system works. Now, I'll be honest with you. I do not feel like they're going to be completely honest with us because let's just be honest here. Corporations tend to not tell us the bad side of things or the things that they think that we don't want to hear. That's just how that works. If you ran a business, especially if it was worth millions of dollars, maybe even billions, you're probably going to withhold information. We do that on the regular as human beings without there being millions of dollars on the line. So why would we think that, it'd be the contrary when there are? And the reason why I'm addressing this again is, like I said, because of some comments that people had left where it seemed like they're very confused, or maybe they just don't really listen to the video. Maybe they just kind of click on it and leave a comment based off of a thumbnail, whatever the case is. And another reason too is because a friend of mine in my Discord, Rev, shout out to him. He drops a lot of like little videos and stuff like that in the DMs for me to kind of, give me ideas for other videos and stuff like that. And a lot of times he just drops, information and stuff like that I might have missed. And one of the things that he recently sent me was a video from Necros where he was watching the interview from, I believe his name is Guang. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I apologize to him. He is the GOAT, though. He's the one that, gives us all of our dev updates and stuff like that, him and his other buddy. And in this video, Necros was watching like the full interview, and I believe I'm going to leave a link to the video in the description. I believe it's somewhere around like the 21-minute mark. For about 8 minutes, he kind of talks about it. And even Necros, he said that he thinks that it maybe isn't necessarily EOMM that's in the game, but there clearly is some type of matchmaking issue kind of that they have going on. And there's clearly something about the way that they do their matchmaking that is manipulative. And, this is coming from one of the top players out there. Not saying that he's one of the best players in the world or anything, but Necros clearly is very good at the game. This is not something that he just, he's a plat or diamond player or anything like that. This is someone that consistently every season reaches some of the highest ranks out there. And, just want to say, too, I know there's a lot of people, anytime I bring up Necros, there's always people that are like, I don't really like him as a person. That doesn't change that he's good at the game. I don't have any feelings toward him personally. I don't really watch him. This is why people a lot of times have to send me videos of stuff that he said or different things and stuff like that regarding him. It would be no different than if, like, let's say LeBron James had, like, knocked my drink over. I'm not saying that he has. I'm just using LeBron as an example. But let's say he had knocked my drink over one time or something. Me not liking him for knocking my drink over doesn't change that he's really good at basketball. He's one of the best basketball players in the world that we know of, right? So, the point I'm making is that Necros is really good at the game. So the fact that he himself even says in this interview, like I said, I'm going to leave the link in the description for you so you can check it out yourself. The fact that he's saying that about the matchmaking says worlds about it, right? Like, no matter who you are, it's okay to admit that sometimes the game seems kind of weird. And the thing is that there's a lot of people out there that feel like if you talk about the matchmaking, that you're basically thinking that you're better than what you are. That is not the case. I know there's a lot of people that are probably listening to this who are regulars here on this channel because that's what the analytics say. I have a lot of people that regularly return back to the channel, but there's also a lot of people that may be hearing this for the first time. At no point in time, I will delete my channel if you can find a point in time in any video that I've ever made regarding Marvel Rivals where I've said that I was a great player. I have never said that. I've actually said quite the contrary, that I am new, that I'm learning, that I'm growing just like everybody else. Every day I learn new stuff. Every day I try out new characters and try out different things and stuff like that. But it also doesn't change that when you are playing the game, you start to notice that there's something weird about the matchmaking that's different. No different than when I used to play Call of Duty back in 2019. And, during matches and stuff, I would realize that my lobbies look different than other people's lobbies. You would see streamers and stuff, and they would be dropping 50, 60 eliminations, and the people that they were playing against a lot of times would not even be looking at them or shoot back or do anything at all that even remotely resembled how sweaty my lobbies were. And come to find out, people started figuring out that skill-based matchmaking was a thing, and it took years before Activision finally admitted that skill-based matchmaking was a thing. And then they finally came out after just people would not stop talking about it and said, listen, we do this for a reason. This is the reason why. And this is why I have a distrust of companies when it comes to stuff like this, because I'm fully aware and capable of thinking from their shoes. Like, people don't want to hear the things they don't want to hear. They may acknowledge it and talk about it, but at the end of the day, though, if you tell them like, hey, yes, we are manipulating matchmaking because the majority of you, if we were to put you in really sweaty lobbies all the time, constantly, you would not want to play this game. Most people are not willing to admit the truth about that. And it's kind of the same thing with this game. There's a lot of people that EOMM benefits. There are people out there that if they don't win a couple of games in a row, they're going to get off the game and they're going to go play something else. See, it's different with me. I have to play whatever. Well, I can't say have to. I prefer to play a game and try to become as good as I can at that game. Every now and again, there's other games that I want to play, but also a part of that too is that being a content creator, you have a certain audience, and that audience wants to see certain things. You guys don't really care if I sit around and start playing Battlefield. You're probably just going to go watch someone else that predominantly plays Marvel Rivals. So I have to put a lot of time into playing Marvel Rivals because that is literally what I do here. I make content for you all about a particular game at a particular time. And right now, this time, it's about Marvel Rivals, right? And the part that I think that a lot of people get confused about when people bring up EOMM, it's not saying now just really quick, there may be certain people out there that blame everything on EOMM and it's like the boogeyman for them. They're like, well, I'm hard stuck in silver because of EOMM. When I talk about it, basically what I'm saying is that you're not going to get held back by EOMM in the long run. Meaning that whatever rank it is that you get to when you're really, really trying and you regularly play the game, that is your rank. Okay. If you're in gold and you have a hard time getting out of gold and you end the season on gold, that's where you belong at. If you end the season on platinum, that's where you belong at. If you ended on diamond, et cetera, going up the ranks, that is where you belong at. What I'm saying is that if you aren't a gold player, for example, myself, since I've started playing this game, I have never gotten lower than platinum. I've never really been stuck in any rank for more than maybe a few days at a time. At the most, maybe like a week or something like that, if the matchmaking was just horrendous. Or maybe it was the beginning of the season, so there's more people in certain ranks that actually don't belong in those ranks than there should be. And what I'm saying by all this is that with EOMM, what it does is it basically prolongs your progress by artificially manipulating your matchmaking. So realistically, you should be able to grind through lower ranks very quickly because you don't belong in those ranks. You should be able to carry those ranks as long as you have just even remotely competent teammates. But there's these times where you feel like the game is forcing you to be in certain situations. For example, you might be playing a couple of matches and for some reason it seems like you're just immediately getting people that just rage quit the game. Now, is it saying that people are just rage quitting because of EOMM? No, that's not what it's saying. What you're saying is that the game is fully aware of all of people's habits. Your churn rate, how often you can take losses before you get off the game, what kind of situations you get put in before you're going to rage quit. It has all of these stats. How do you think that challenges get completed? When you have a challenge that says it's cloak and dagger, you have to blind so many enemies. You have to play certain types of characters. Maybe you got to, take so much damage as a tank or whatever the case is. It tracks every single thing that you do in the game. It tracks how often you leave matches. How do you think that you get penalties and stuff for leaving matches? They know all of this stuff. There's a record of all of it. It's not like it's in a file cabinet somewhere. It's just digital. So, you get put into a certain kind of like place based off of how it is that you handle things in the game. The game knows you. It knows you better than you probably know and understand yourself, because it's just an algorithm. That's what they do. They're just zeros and ones computing information, right? And, kind of like what Necros was saying is that, of course, he can get to whatever rank that he's supposed to get to. But then it gets to a point to where after you've won so many games, you're going to start to see stuff where you're like, this is weird. And someone presented a really good question. I have to be fair. I have to be honest. Somebody presented a really good question to me in the last video in the comments. They said, well, what exactly would it take for netties to say or do to where you would believe that their matchmaking is the way that it is? Because there's a lot of people out there that are really excited. That the people that are on, like, let's say on the left side, you have the people that are like, well, EOMM, it's not real. It's just a myth. Matchmaking is perfectly fine. You just get good. Then you have the people on the right that are kind of like, EOMM is the boogeyman, and everything that goes wrong to me in my life, when I trip over my shoelaces, it's EOMM, right? And I'm in the middle somewhere. I usually, it's really hard to get me to either go fully left or fully right. I'm usually in the middle because there's always a little bit of truth to both sides. Kind of like when my kids are pointing the finger at each other and saying the other one did something, whatever it is. And usually you come to find out, like, the truth's somewhere in the middle. And that's kind of how it is with matchmaking. EOMM has never stopped me from getting to whatever rank that I belong in, but it has made it a lot more difficult than it should, if that kind of makes sense to you. And that was kind of like the example that I was giving in regards to, let's say that Diamond is like the rank that you really belong in, right? Well, the game, it knows that you belong in Diamond. So what it does is when you're about to get to Diamond, it thinks, well, this person usually gets to Diamond or they get to GM and they stop playing this game. Once they've reached the rank that they want to get to, most people don't keep climbing past that point. They'll usually either start playing quick play, or maybe you're in my Discord and you play custom matches, whatever the case is. Maybe you even just go to a different game. And they don't really want that, because once that happens, it's like, well, now you're becoming lax. Now you're satisfied, right? They want you to keep coming back because you're going to feel like, well, I know that I'm not supposed to be in plat. I'm supposed to be in diamond. And I can't finish this season on platinum because I wouldn't be playing ranked if I didn't care about it to begin with. So they're going to try as hard as they can to make sure that every time that you get close to getting to diamond, they knock you back down a few pegs. And if that requires them getting people that they know have been boosted or carried, or people that they know whenever things don't tend to go their way right away, that they're going to just rage quit the game, whatever the case is, that's what they're going to do to try to keep you back. Now, the thing is like I said about the question in regards to the young lady or the young man that asked me what exactly it would take. That is a really good question. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really have an answer. Because it's really hard to have someone kind of sit in your face and go, listen, this thing that you're seeing that you deal with all the time, it's not happening. And like I said, there's confusion about it, because people a lot of times they sit back and they say, well, or not that people a lot of times sit back and say, but it's more like with when Guang Guang was being interviewed, and he said, our matchmaking is very complex. And a lot of people for some reason took that as, well, EOM is not a thing. And the thing is that even still, there's been other people in the comments who have said something as well. I know I'm jumping around a lot because it's kind of hard to pinpoint and explain exactly. But, there was someone else in the comments that said we got to stop using EOMM because that's kind of throwing people off, because EOMM technically is like owned by like EA or something like that. And the problem with talking about this is we don't even really know what to exactly call it. We can all kind of agree that there's something, like the matchmaking is not as good as it could be, but we don't exactly have a word for it. So we just slap EOMM on it. And when we do that, it allows people to be able to play what's known as like the semantics game. And for people that don't know, semantics is basically like if somebody walked up to you and they just slapped you in the face, right? And then you were like, yo, this person slapped me. And then this other person was like, no, I didn't slap you. I raised my hand to you and rubbed it across your face or something, right? Like that's semantics. It's like, brother, the same thing. It's the same thing, right? Like, you know what I mean? You could say like the dog peed in the corner, and then somebody's like, well, yeah, but he actually urinated in the corner. It's like, you just changed the word, but it means the same exact thing, though. And that's kind of where we're at with EOMM in regards to people saying, well, it's not EOMM. It's something else. Okay, regardless of what word we're using to describe it, We all know what we're talking about here. It's the same thing. There's matchmaking that is like normal and organic, and then there's matchmaking that is designed to stop you from getting to a certain point in a certain amount of time. And you have to understand, from a business standpoint, this is a live service game. They don't want you not playing the game. This is different from when you go out and you buy a game. When you buy a game, you're getting everything that's coming in that game. They don't care what happens after that. All they care about is that you buy the game initially. The difference between that and a live service game is that a live service game is dependent upon you being in the game as much as humanly possible. So of course they're going to do things to manipulate your experience to make you want to spend more time in the game. If the matchmaking was organic and you leveled up the way that you should, and then you got to kind of like your skill ceiling to where you didn't have to really play anymore unless you wanted to, they don't want to leave things up to chance or you having the choice in the matter. They have to manipulate you. And manipulation is this funny thing because we all do it in one way or another. As a parent, you have to manipulate your kids a lot of times. And a lot of people will say, well, that's a bad thing that you're manipulating your children. Is it? If I'm manipulating them by getting them to do chores, by saying I'm going to pay you an allowance to do your chores, is that a bad thing? Their chores are just them cleaning up after themselves. It's them cleaning their own bathroom with the messes that they make. It's taking out their trash in the bathroom that they make. It's them cleaning up their room. So if I go get them a little weekly chart and I put it on the refrigerator and put stars on that chart every time they do their chores, and they get an allowance at the end of the week that they can use to buy toys or Roblox money or whatever the case it is that a bad form of manipulation? If your mother tells your father to stop smoking, or she's gonna leave him, is that a bad form of manipulation? The fact that he's not gonna be smoking anymore and that he'll live longer because of it? Is that bad? And of course, there are bad forms of manipulation. But I think when people use that word, they immediately go to the worst case scenario. If McDonald's tells you that they'll give you a cheeseburger for free if you buy a cheeseburger meal, that's a form of manipulation. They're manipulating you. They're trying whatever they can to get you to come into McDonald's and buy more cheeseburgers. Is that a bad thing? This game manipulates you by gaslighting you into thinking that, you're just not good enough to get to a certain rank, when really what they're doing is they're giving you the worst teammates possible and then putting you up against a super solid team of people that are fully capable and have a proven track record of being able to work together. I could go on all day about manipulation in different various forms of it, the difference between good forms of it, kind of okay forms of it, and really bad forms of it. But at the end of the day, though, like, I've lived long enough. I've seen enough gaming. Like I said, this isn't a situation where it's me blaming EOMM for everything. That's not what it is. Where I'm at is where I belong at. That's just the truth of the matter. But how long it takes me to get to where I should be at is different. That's a whole different topic. And like I said earlier, I don't know exactly what it would take for them to say or do to get me to believe them. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know. It'd be like if your girl had cheated on you like 50 times, right? Or your boyfriend or whatever. And then they stop cheating on you. And it's like, well, what would it take for you to believe that they're not cheating on you? Would you have to like physically follow them around 24/7? And I feel like it's kind of the same thing with this. It's like, once you've been scorned enough in these situations, you just kind of build up a wall to where you're just kind of like, I don't believe it anymore. I believed CD Projekt or Red or whatever the company is called when they, for 10 years said that they were going to release a game that would change the world. And then we got Cyberpunk, and it was the most horrendous, terrible launch of a game I'd ever seen. Now I don't trust that company anymore. I don't care what they say. Until the game is physically in my hands and I'm playing it and it actually is whatever it is that they made it out to be, I don't believe them. And that's where we are with gaming. There's so many companies that just blatantly lie about stuff. And then when they lie about it and they release whatever, they dip out and it's just the end of it. They had a game that just came out. It was people were hyping it up as Mind's Eye. They're talking about, oh man, it's going to be like, this is made by the same people that made GTA 5. And, this game is going to be great. And we're going to have open world and bring you multiplayer and all this kind of stuff. And look at where we are. And that's the same thing They said with Cyberpunk, give it 6 months, we'll have multiplayer out. It took them like 4 or 5 years just to get the game to be in a playable state. And like I said, I don't really have an answer for that person who asked me that question. I think it's a really good question. I think it's a fair question. But at the same time, though, I don't really have an answer for that. I just, I know what I see. I know what I experience. It's not like I just play this game a couple of times a month or for a few hours out of the week or something like that. I play this game pretty much every day. And like I said, it's gotten to a point to where you see the patterns. And this isn't something that there's only a handful of people that are talking about. This is something that has been an extremely hot topic since the game came out. But I really wanted to make this video as a follow-up to kind of explain that to people. I know there's some people that just aren't going to get it. They're just going to immediately go, oh, I hear EOMM. You think you need to be a one above all player and you're not. Now you're blaming EOMM. No, not the case. I don't even think I'm a GM player, to be honest with you. I am far more critical of myself than I think anybody else is. Of course, every now and again, someone comes in the comments, they go, what was that old man? Why were you standing in that place? And I agree with them. But I think so many people are used to so many of the players of this game and gaming period who, they think far higher of themselves than what's actually the case. I see it so much. I see people that will sit back and they'll criticize someone else's gameplay. And then you click on that person's profile, you go to their page and you see they upload content and they're probably at best a silver player. But yet they feel like someone that's 3 times better than them and more skilled and knowledgeable at the game, they have the right to critique them. It's no different than when you, if you go to like the barber shop or you're talking to people online or whatever, and they'll be sitting back critiquing what a professional basketball or football player is doing. Someone who actually has the skill and has made it to the pro league of whatever sport they're playing respectively. And they sit there and critique them. And this person probably never even played basketball in high school. And if they did, it's always the same. So, I would have made it to the pros. I wouldn't have blown my knee out. You ever hear somebody say that? I'm sure you have at some point in time, right? That's a lot of people. You got people that sit here and they watch pro players in this game, people at the top of the level of skill and ability in this game. And they say, well, why do they do that? Oh, man, this guy, man, he played terrible. He didn't do this, he didn't do that. If I would have been there, I would have done that. Brother, get real. Like I said, I'm extremely critical of myself. I'm capable of looking at myself and saying, you aren't yet to this level. A lot of you will draw a stick person, and in your mind, you see that as the Mona Lisa. Me, I'm fully capable of looking at that and going, it's a stick person. Even if I made it, that's what it is. So this, illusion that people have where it's like, if somebody talks about this, that it just has to be this thing where it's just cope. That's a lot of people's favorite word, cope. No, if I walk outside and it's raining and the weatherman comes to me and goes, yeah, I didn't predict that it was going to rain today, so it's not raining. What do you think I'm going to think? Like, oh, well, he told me it's not raining, so this stuff that's falling on my face looks like rain. I'm just going to ignore that. No, it's rain. So that's just my thoughts on it. But like I said, though, to summarize it, what we're going to call it going forward, I don't exactly know, because when you're talking to the masses, you kind of have to have something to call something that people can identify and understand. It's just that simple. And right now we haven't as a community decided what we're going to call it. But when you got pro players like Necros, and people they go back for, once again, semantics. People are like, well, he's not technically a pro player because he doesn't play on a pro team. When you have some of the best players out there that maybe aren't on a pro team or whatever, sitting here telling you the same thing, it kind of, negates the argument that a lot of people have where they say, well, why do people like Necros and Flats and all these other people, why do they make it to the top ranks every season? Yeah, they may make it to the top ranks, but even they deal with the matchmaking sometimes. As a matter of fact, when Necros did his what was it, the support run, that was something he himself talked about. He had like a 95 or 90% win rate up until he got to a certain point, and then all of a sudden it was like he was just getting teammates that just had no idea what they were doing. And these weren't medal ranks either. Now he's like in GM, and all of a sudden he would just start getting teammates that had absolutely no idea what they were doing, completely selling, rage quitting, all types of stuff. Even he said it himself. He was like, "Yeah, I'm getting hit with EOMM right now," and a lot of people took that as like, "Oh, well, he's just joking." No, that man was being dead serious, deadly serious. So those are just my thoughts on it. But once again, let me know in the comments what you think. Are you ready to hear about this? From netties themselves, how their matchmaking works. Do you think that it's, them trying to just, cover their tails and stuff like that? What do you think? Thoughts and opinions. Like I said, I'm always curious. It doesn't have to be a situation where we agree, but I do think that some people last time were missing some context there in regards to my thoughts and opinions on it. And I think that they're just so used to people coming out and going, "Oh, well, this is the reason why I lose every match that I lose." No, there are some matches that I lose and they're genuine losses. There's some matches that I lose and I'm going, there's no way these were real people. These had to be bots. Even if they were real people, what are they doing in this rank? These people should have never made it out of bronze. There's no way. So it is what it is. But I do appreciate you all for listening. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up, and I'm Father Dark. I'll catch you on the next one.